Ubisoft used to be a behemoth within the video game industry, and whenever we'd hear about them, it's because they were putting out a new product and it was being praised, and everybody was really happy with what they were doing. But now, whenever we hear about Ubisoft, it's usually because they're making wrong decision after wrong decision or they're being sued, and now a privacy firm is filing legal complaints over data collection for forced online and single player games. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, Ubisoft is in hot water from every single direction. They, of course, made that massive Tencent deal. Who knows what's going to happen with that now? We, of course, know that they've put out several games over the past 2 years that have been total failures. They've lost hundreds of millions of dollars on those games, and while they've tried to spin some of them as successes like Assassin's Creed Shadows, we haven't ever gotten sales figures. We've only gotten players, and player numbers are far different than units sold, though we're just talking about Ubisoft being sued over and over again. We know that just a couple of weeks ago, Ubisoft claims players don't own their video games in an explosive ownership lawsuit over the crew. And well, now we have this situation that I'm sure they're not happy to see either. It says, though, a European privacy firm has filed a legal complaint against Assassin's Creed maker Ubisoft, citing concerns over the company's data collecting practices and the requirement of an online connection for single player games. Now, when it comes to the requirement of an online connection for single player games, if they were to lose this, this could reshape the state of the industry, which would be fascinating to see. I personally am not a fan of an always online connection for games that do not require it. I understand playing titles like Call of Duty, for example, or Halo, things like that. You're going to need that. But otherwise, if I'm playing, I don't know, Starfield and I'm not online and I'm not actually playing with other people, I shouldn't need it. Or Red Dead Redemption, you know what I'm saying? Like, that is absolutely ridiculous. And it's something that gamers have rallied against for years at this point. Unfortunately, gamers are fighting a lot of battles too right now when it comes to this online connection, ownership of digital media, and even kind of prices of games is a hot topic right now because of Nintendo going up in price for certain games. But it says based in Austria, the nonprofit NOYB, or the NOIB, the European Center for Digital Rights, has taken on the case of a Far Cry fan who contacted Ubisoft to find out what data it had collected. You see this, all it takes is one single fan for potentially severely damaging things to happen to a company. Now, I'm not saying that, we should constantly be contacting these different centers and these different divisions with every single complaint we have, but when it comes to worries about things like requirements of an online connection and data collection practices, right, it really only takes one person to speak up. That's why I think it is so important that content creators like myself can provide this sort of information to you guys and do what we can for the state of the industry. It says, though, the firm alleges that Ubisoft has flouted GDPR rules and now risks a potential fine of up to 92 million euros or 78 million pounds, 4% of Ubisoft's 2.3 billion euro turnover last year. Eurogamer has contacted Ubisoft for comment, but there is no comment as of yet. NOYB stands for None of Your Business, was set up by privacy activist Matt Schrems, who previously helped surface allegations of personal data being passed from Europe to the USA for use in the NSA's PRISM mass surveillance program. So we're not talking about a small little nobody organization or anything like that. It says, while playing prehistoric adventure Far Cry Primal, Ubisoft told the user it had obtained the kind of data you'd expect, information when the game was launched, how long it was played for, and when it was shut down, which are all very standard. Every single game is going to do this. again, very understandable, but it went above and beyond because the examination of the data Ubisoft has obtained showed a connection to external servers 150 times in 10 minutes, NOYB claims, referring to this as a secret data collection. As for the need to connect online, Ubisoft told the user this was required to verify ownership of the game upon its launch, which is very standard because you're basically not buying digital games, you are licensing them. And so they need to constantly connect to your PC and your internet connection and your just console, whatever you're playing the game on, so that they can potentially rip that license away from you if they want to, if you break their rules, because again, it's not like you actually own it. It says, though, they argue that's because the user's copy of Far Cry Primal was bought through Steam. The game could be verified through that without additionally logging into a Ubisoft account. GDPR law states that data collection should only take place if necessary, otherwise it is unlawful. Their complaint continues, an option that Ubisoft advertises to play PC games via Ubisoft Connect while offline still requires an initial connection meanwhile. Now, of course, companies do protect themselves in things like end user license agreements. They are pretty good at that because they don't want people to be able to just come after them left, right, and center, but they could face fines here, and that could change the way a lot of companies actually work. Now, this is not the only kind of legal trouble that Ubisoft is going through right now. Of course, they have a major lawsuit on their hands with shareholders because shareholders are pissed at the Tencent deal, and we have them claiming that players don't own their video games in this explosive ownership lawsuit over the racing game The Crew. So I have a feeling that because this Crew one only happened 2 weeks ago, and now we also have this privacy firm filing legal complaints, they probably knew that that legal complaint was going to be filed through that organization, NOYB. So they're trying to kind of cover all of their bases at once, like reiterate points. But it says in a newly uncovered court filing, Ubisoft has stated that players never actually own their copies of The Crew, but instead received a limited license to access the game. This is sadly what most companies do say, and the way that they want the industry to work. The declaration comes as part of an ongoing Ubisoft game ownership lawsuit filed in California after the company shut down the game server in March 2024, making it completely unplayable. And of course, Ubisoft filed a motion to dismiss the case, but that has not yet happened. So they're facing a lot of legal trouble on all sides of their business practice. I personally feel nothing in my heart for Ubisoft at this point. They have killed many franchises that I've loved, abandoned franchises that I've loved, and it's just really sad that this is kind of the state of a company that was once a behemoth in the industry. They do still make a lot of money, and they do still have quite a bit of money, but on the flip side, they definitely are not raking in the cash the way they once did. But look at the past year for them. They've lost hundreds of millions of dollars, almost $1 billion on development costs. If it's to be believed, they spent $600 million on Skull and Bones. Now, I think it was more like 300 to 400 million. Regardless, though, that's still a hefty chunk of change, and that was a quadruple A game, and nobody's playing it. We had X Defiant, which was supposed to be the Call of Duty killer that released too many years too late, and they have to shut those servers down because nobody's playing it. It's not making them money. Star Wars Outlaws came out and underperformed, and then Assassin's Creed Shadows released, and they haven't given us sales or units sold. They've only told us of players engaged, which is not really to be believed, simply because if you play it via Ubisoft Plus, the subscription service that they have, that also counts in that player number. So I would assume that they've sold like maybe 2 million copies, and there's a couple million, like 1 or 2 million on top of that have been downloaded. Who really knows, though? Either way, Ubisoft is in deep shit right now, so I'll be keeping my eye on the situation, but things are not looking good for them, as now they're facing more troubles because a privacy firm is filing a legal complaint over data collection and forced online in single-player games. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.